those of you that don't know me, my name's Deborah Heather. I've been in the post of CEO at Visit Isle of Man for 6 months, so it's actually quite a good time to review everything. I'm an ex-hotelier. I ran hotels and worked in hotels for 25 years before starting to work with tourist boards. I've worked with Visit England, Visit Britain, Visit Isle of Man, the Channel Islands, both governments, and Visit South Africa, actually. So long history in tourism and hospitality. I'm going to whiz you through some slides on travel trends. Here we go. I should have actually had that one on when I introduced myself. So I'm going to talk about the trends in the sector and some other different bits and pieces around what we've been doing at Visit Isle of Man. And then Ranald and I, we're going to show you a quick video, and Ranald and I are going to answer some questions and chat to you all, hopefully. So we're hearing all of this stuff around finances and people not being able to afford holidays. The reality is that actually holidays are ring-fenced. They've become more important in people's lives. And one of the key things for that, I think, is it's post the pandemic. You've been stuck at home for 2 years. You definitely want to have that holiday. It might mean you don't get a new car this year, but you're going to have that holiday. And value matters. This isn't about being cheap. This is actually being valued. And it's that all of the things that come in under the word value. We're going to talk about experiences. But they are expecting their holidays to be more expensive because everything else is more expensive. So it's logical, but they just want to see some value for money. The other thing is people have moved to travel trade. They're moving to travel agents. They're booking through trusted methods. They're looking for some guarantees. And this is not about the Isle of Man per se. Obviously, we've had our own travel disruption at different points. But remember, in the UK, we've had rail strikes all the time, and we're still getting them. And there's also massive issues at the airports there too. So this is not individual to the Isle of Man. People are just looking for somebody else to sort it out if it goes wrong for them. And that's kind of a result of the pandemic as well. Experiences matter. So this is the key thing. This is the thing that people want from their holiday. They want to remember everything. They want to have great times with their family and friends. They want to be able to talk about it. You don't sit there thinking about, oh, that was a great memory when I got home from dinner and made that tea that night and everybody enjoyed it. You don't think that. You remember the time you travelled and you did something special. So experiences are a huge part of any tourism experience. And the idea of luxury is changing. I think bling is not the thing anymore. People are looking for much more holistic experiences, much more well-being experiences. They're looking for natural and wow experiences, but they're not thinking luxury is about the Ritz particularly anymore, which is good. It bodes well for us. Conscious consumers, this is coming. This is coming as fast as you could possibly imagine. People are making decisions based on their green credentials. It's huge for us. It's in our DNA. We're just not very good at telling people about it. Everything we do in the biosphere seems to be very sort of insular. It's all very localized. We need to be selling this. It's a huge thing. We don't even have recycling bins all over the island. And for our biggest feeder markets in the UK, where it's actually second nature now to recycle, we're not doing the right thing here. So it's a big place we need to move on from. So I'm just going to talk briefly about what we've been doing, what's been happening at Visit Isle of Man, and what the board have been doing, and what we've achieved, what we're looking at next. So these are our numbers. I think the top ones are the best ones to point out in the first place. Our prediction to the end of year that we will beat the target of 300,000. It's 306 now. I know that's marginal. We are obviously still working very hard to deliver more than that. We had a few setbacks. We've had 5 cruise ships cancel because of weather and other related things. And you know, those things happen. That's life in tourism as well. You'll notice our average spend in visitors is actually a little bit lower than we hoped at 477. The target was 538. That would actually be 520 without the cruise ships. Clearly, the cruise ships don't stay overnight, so they don't spend as much money here, but it's a myth that they don't spend anything. If you talk to the retailers in Douglas, when we had the American ship in, it was maybe about a month ago, some of them got double their turnover in that day than the best turnover they've ever had. This is really important to the thing the guys were talking about, the local town stuff, the regeneration piece. I get it's not very green, and I get it kind of contradicts what we're saying on that conscious consumer piece. But in the short term, this is a really good market for us. TED scheme, that's our version of the town centre grants where we underwrite things for events. We've definitely beaten the total for that. Our numbers are slightly down, but still it's going all in the right direction. I guess the one to pull out, and this is maybe where we were slightly naive as a team, as a board, we actually looked at our 10-year strategy and said we need an extra 500 service rooms, an extra 500 non-serviced units. And then we just spread them over the 10 years. And of course, that's never going to happen. It's always going to fall slightly further towards the end of that strategy. You don't build a hotel with a year's notice. But, you know, we will lose some stock, and that's not a bad thing, because not all of our stock is fit for purpose. I think we have to be honest with ourselves. But we are still seeing some growth, and we had some great news today with a new hotel coming on board. They're predicting 26. I think that's fantastic, and it will give us momentum to keep moving forward. Priorities. So we had a board meeting where we discussed, it did a workshop actually, it wasn't really a board meeting, but we discussed what we needed to focus on next. And what I was trying to get us to do is saying, great, we've got a 10-year strategy, but how do we get to what we should do in the next 3 years? And this is our important stuff. This is the stuff where we can make changes now rather than pushing the can down the line, which is more the infrastructure stuff. I'm going to start at the opposite end with seasonality. And you will have heard this time and time again. We have a shoulder season. We have a bad winter season. And it's really tough for the operators out there. And I get that. We have to take a different attitude to this. We have to start street fighting. This is about buying business. It's about putting the big bucks behind campaigns. It's actually really thinking about all of the effort that we put in, all the marketing we put in. 80% of everything that we do at Visit and the industry does should be focused on those 6 months at the bottom end of the calendar and the top end of the year after. Really important that we incentivise conferences and groups, and this is the point, we will have to pay for this. This is not cheap stuff to create. I moved here from Devon, probably 10 times the amount of summer visits, exactly the same problem in the winter. You don't get it by just dabbling. You have to do massive campaigns to change the way people buy. And that leads me very nicely onto marketing. So you have to know who you're selling to. We have lots of lovely 70 and 80-year-olds on buses going around the island, enjoying everything the island's got, and that's great. The hoteliers that are putting them up are telling me they're getting a good rate these days, so they're very happy with that. There's two problems, really, with that market. One is they're in their 70s and 80s. I won't say any more. The second one is there's no incremental spend. Everybody outside of those hotels is not getting much money. Those lovely tour companies are great, but they're doing value for money stuff, and they're taking them to the cheapest or the free types of attractions they can take them to. So the best you're going to get at one of those attractions is a scone and a cup of tea. They don't spend any more in the hotels. They don't spend any more on drinks or going out or on dinner. So we need to move on past that market. We'll treasure them. We'll look after them. We'll do everything we can to make them have a great experience, but we don't want to keep them in the long term. So we need to think about our markets and what's next. I think there's something that always occurs to me. I always tell my marketing team, who probably have an average age of about 26, that they are not our customer base, that they have to think around different types of customer bases. Actually, I'm going to be a real hypocrite here and say I'm our customer base. We need to be looking at the people in their 50s, the people that have disposable income, the people that can take breaks and shoulders, the people that think they're still 40, and also they're into fitness and mountains and walking because they're trying to, you know, pay back from their misspent youth and trying to get fitter again to go into their later life. And the other thing is, I mean, people like me, we like food, we like drink, we want the food tourism part of it. We like culture, we like heritage. My husband calls himself a Geordie Viking. He's a quarter Swedish. He'd love it here. Well, he does love it here. He only just moved, but the Viking part, there's so much we've got to attract this market that can come out of the season that we've developed and we're maximising. So it's got to be really good. And the other thing, if you think about who advertises to 50-somethings, you think about Jamie Redknapp with Skechers. Nobody buys Skechers. Sorry. The other one is, I fall into Saga. I mean, I do not feel like a Saga person right now, but we have an island that nobody's marketing successfully to this generation. And actually, there's a lovely gentleman over there, Terry, who made me think about something a few weeks ago. it's actually more than demographics. It's actually about tribes, and it's tribes was Terry's words, and I think that's so true. If you've got verticals around demographics, we've definitely got horizontals around tribes. I'm not the only fan of walking. There are lots and lots of people of different generations that also like walking. So we have to think about our concerted efforts, how we target our marketing, and how that we make that work for us. The other thing I wanted to mention is people in their 50s have an unusual broader aspect to their attraction. So some of us, I would say most of me and my friends, children are semi-grown up, 20 and 23. For me, they still want to come on holiday with us, but basically because we're paying for it. Then we've got our older generation. My mum and my Auntie Doreen, the octogenarians, just went home. They visited for the summer. We've got friends who call their youngest child, who's 10, a bonus baby, but we all know what actually that was. And I can't wait till Hannah comes over to us to visit, because I can go and see the red pandas with her. I've been looking for an excuse to do that. So there is something about getting our marketing right that's really, really important to us. I think the final one, which is a fundamental issue, is our digitalisation. And this is where we fall behind the UK, definitely. We're a different type of destination management organisation to Visit England or Visit Scotland. They have smaller destination management organisations like, say, Visit Devon, Visit Aberdeen, who will work with the local businesses to help promote them, who will host them on their website to sell their rooms. We have it all on the back of Visit Isle of Man. And as an ex-hotelier, I have to say it makes me absolutely furious that we are pointing people in the direction of Booking.com and in the direction of Expedia, rather than getting you direct bookings, because I feel your pain around cost management. But the thing we have to remember is that a good chunk of our market, the self-caterers, about 40% of them only distribute through the Visit Isle of Man website. So we've got a real quandary. They've got no other route to market, and yet it forces some of the businesses down the worst possible routes. We know there's people on the island that are doing this really, really well. I want to point to the Commerce and Island Escapes. Island Escapes is having the best September they've ever had. They're looking to beat June. That's incredible. You know, June's TT. They're looking to beat June. The Commerces had spent the last year putting the global distribution system in and looking at their whole digital presence, and they've just doubled their numbers. Their occupancy's right up. Their profits are right up. Well, their profits probably aren't because it's costing more. But what I'm saying is actually there are businesses on the island that are so far ahead of this, and they're matching some of the UK businesses. It's incredible. And then we've got businesses right down here who don't have a clue where to start in terms of distribution. And somewhere in the middle, Visit Isle of Man has got to help solve the problem. But we need the industry behind us and talking to us about this. This is going to be a massive topic at our industry day, which is the 13th of November. So if you want to come and talk about it or get your input in, really welcome. There's lots of good tech out there. It's changing. The world is changing, which is great. It's an opportunity for us. Right, I'm going to just quickly whiz through some of our results. This might sound like a con, but it's not. Do you remember when you used to buy advertising and you used to ask what the distribution was? So you would go, I'll put an advert in the Daily Mail. It's got 100,000 readership. This is the same sort of calculation. We have done an amazing job with PR this summer. So we decided to change our relationship with Lexington and the way we talked to them and the way we targeted them. By the end of June, we had 256,000 reach. So that's about all of those people that would buy whatever part of whatever the publication was that we were distributing in. By the end of August, it was 2.8 billion. I'm not saying 2.8 billion people have read our PR. I'm not trying to tell you that. I'm just saying, look at the shift, look at the difference between that small amount we had in June and now where we're at for this year. And that's about creating noise, because that's what we could do in the short term. I think some of you will have heard me talk about 1 in 10 people that you talk to about the Isle of Man knows it and is a super fan. Everybody else thinks we're the Isle of Wight. So the idea was that it was the quickest thing we could do to take to market and let people know about us. And we will continue to do that. The next thing we've done is a massive digital marketing campaign. So we're looking at all sorts of digital marketing, including advertising, organic digital marketing, all sorts of different stuff here. I'm not going to go into it because I'm talking too much. But what I would like to say is we really are benchmarking ourselves against other competitors. You can see there are a few green figures that we're doing well against some of our competitors, but you can see that we're really looking to target and beat some of our competitors in their marketing reach. And hopefully I'll keep showing this. We'll show it in November, we'll show it next year. So you can just see how hard we're working towards basically developing our digital presence as well. I see people staring. I'll distribute them afterwards. And then our upcoming activities. So on your doorstep was designed to help fill our experiences and attractions, trying to remind people that live here to go to the stuff that is around the corner for them. When they've got visiting friends and family, take them to go and see those red pandas. We've actually been overwhelmed with requests from accommodation offers, from restaurants, all sorts of people wanting to get involved. It's a 8-week campaign. We'll be pushing it out nationally, obviously locally, through various newspapers, a sort of mixed campaign, and then we'll be also doing it in the UK. So if you do still want to join in, you can join in. This is not about telling you to sell cheaply. I'm not saying that. I think a value offer of some sort, even saying you can come back next year for something else, getting them to bounce back and keep coming back to you. But please get involved. It's a really great activity, and we think it worked really well. We've bought a deal with Premier Holidays, which means they will bring people over here. What you do is you spend some advertising money with them. They push you out, and it hopefully brings you a return on that. This is where I'm talking about buying business, because it's the thing that works. Some of the hoteliers out there will have heard from Hotel Beds. That's for EasyJet Holidays. EasyJet may have not been our friend in some parts of this year, but there's still a way people do buy holidays from them, and it's still great distribution, because there's a lot of people looking at their sites. They have a lot easier route to market than we do, so think about that. The big news, the thing I should tell you that isn't out there in the public domain, is we're hosting the AGM of the British Guild of Travel Writers in February. So thrilled to get this. It'll be between 80 to 150 travel writers. I'll get you all involved. Anybody that wants to come, showcase their business in some way, talk to them. They're all looking for different stories. And what will happen is, what's happened everywhere else they do this at, there's suddenly, so much content appearing about the Isle of Man that everybody's, what's happening on the Isle of Man? It's just that we've got all the journalists here. So it's a fantastic opportunity for us. It's also the booking window, primary booking window for accommodation businesses. So, please get involved. Obviously, going to the World Travel Market, we have a business development manager who's been here about as long as I have in the UK, and she's made a massive difference selling to UK markets to get business over here. So that's just one of the things that we're doing as well. I'm not going to go through this, except to mention these are the influencers we've got coming. This all helps with our trying to push this campaign. I would like to say I don't know who Dr. Alex is from Love Island, but I actually do. I've got a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. So he is coming to do a walk and talk with Peter Hickman about wellness. He's got 1.9 million followers on his podcast. So this is just another way of us making that noise. Again, I'm not going to read this through. You can have a copy of it afterwards. And I should breathe now. There's a video to show you.
Well, out of Peel, you can't go wrong out of Peel. I mean, I grew up here, and you kind of grew up thinking that everyone grows up with a hill and a castle and a beach and a headland and wilderness within 5 minutes of your front door. And then to grow up and realise that not everyone has that makes you feel incredibly lucky living here. And you do. You come to Peel for a holiday, you can go literally walk anywhere and find yourself anywhere.
The Isle of Man is a wonderful, wonderful little island in the middle of the Irish Sea. It has steeped in history, culture and heritage, and I enjoy learning more about my heritage by living on the Isle of Man. I can't put it in words really just how I feel about the island, because I am totally biased. It's my home. But anybody who hasn't visited here and wants to come, they need to come and explore this beautiful island, see what it has to offer. It offers things for everybody. We have cycling competitions, motorcycle competitions, we have racing, running racing, we have Ironman competitions. There's something for everybody here.
My first impressions of the island is it's very picturesque. not too crass. It's very, it's a beautiful place. It's one of the, I've traveled a bit, and this is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. After my first visit to the Isle of Man, I told my wife I want to come back here every year.
So this holiday, we've been to Port Erin, Laxey, we're planning on going up to Ramsey, and Douglas, we're getting it all in. Oh, just the scenery, it's absolutely beautiful here, and there is so much to see. Like, even though I've been coming for 20 years, there's always something new to see.
And there's so many opportunities here on the island to spend your time outside, regardless of the weather.
Well, the Isle of Man is just such a weirdly unique place compared to anywhere else in the UK, really, with its own sense of history and culture and folklore and that kind of thing, and its own sense of weather as well. One of the great things about living on the Isle of Man, living in especially Peel next to the harbour there as well, is like for an industry, for a business like ours, is to have that provenance of ingredients. You have Queenie straight off the boat right in front of you, right behind you there. So we've got local pork and local meats from our local butcher who keeps designing little things for us, and we can work really closely with him as well. And you have Starvey Farms and Red My Chilies and all these different little companies that just bounce around each other and really help each other out with different ideas and ingredients. And you do get the most finest foods, which is just really close to your doorstep.
All the people are friendly, you can go out at night, no problem, no trouble, it's just nice place to be, a nice place to live. I've been here 40 years now, and I love it. My children love it, and really lovely place to be.
Scenery, out in the fresh air, wildlife, on the coast, in the towns, everywhere you look, it's beautiful.
Well, we think the Isle of Man is special because it's a beautiful island. The people are so friendly, and obviously having the motorcycle festivals over here is very good, and it's just a lovely place to be, isn't it?
With or without racing, there's always something to do, some fantastic sight to see, like the one I'm looking at the moment, and you can't beat it. On a day like this, you can't beat it.
It's unique because it's an island. It's an island sort of economy. It's an island culture, and the Isle of Man obviously is a very ancient island, so there's lots of history as well.
There's lots of nature as well. If that's your thing, there's lots of things to see that don't involve modern day things. You can go and find old villages and just walk around beautiful sites, the glens. I think there's something for everybody.
Coming over for the TT with my cousin, we were staying in Laxey, and one evening we came back down the steep hill into Laxey, and my cousin nearly ran over Joey Dunlop, who was crossing between the two pubs late at night, looking worse for wear. That would have made quite an interesting headlines, I think, if something nasty had happened. So that was quite funny. You didn't hear the last of that.
For me, I've been coming here for decades, and I love the motorbike racing. I love all the Celtic history of it as well, and we love the local people. If you like the outdoors, there's amazing places to go. I love going around the glens and looking at the stone circles and stuff like that. The coastline's beautiful as well. And then especially if you come for the TT or the Manx, then you just get the atmosphere of the racing as well, and all the friendly people welcoming you, and that's why people come back year after year, same as I do.
The Isle of Man offers you a wonderful, wonderful place to have a holiday and to relax.
I love the Isle of Man because it is one of the most beautiful places and safest places on the planet. The people are really friendly, there's a real sense of community, and there's a lot of opportunities for younger people to come here and move over and start a new life. Going and comparing it to a cross, I would say it's nothing like a cross because it's paradise here. It is its own little gem in the island, or the Irish Sea, should I say, for a reason. It's untouched, it's beautiful, and biospheres like you cannot even imagine or even predict or consume. That's how fantastic it is.
I have a replica of the Laxey whale in my back garden, and I love it to bits.
Just a little reminder of how much we've got to be proud of. Ranald's going to come up and we're going to take a Q&A now. So we can sit on
Well, thanks very much, Deborah. When we were looking to develop what the agency was doing, its reach, we needed to restructure the way we looked at things. We were looking at things very much from a marketing perspective, just advertising the Isle of Man and hoping someone would come. We've now moved clearly to a destination management operation, which is about managing the whole process on behalf of the industry and with the industry. I'm delighted to have secured Deborah. I think it's a bit of a coup to recruit a professional in the field who's really helping guide us in the right direction. And I think you also take on the mantle of chairman of the Tourist Society in the Isle of Man, in the UK, Lord Thurso, etc., etc. So Deborah is in contact and opened many doors. I think what we've also done as well, we've encouraged 2 board members from the UK to come and volunteer for us, who are opening doors. We're also looking at the Irish market as well and saying, can we recruit a director from there? So things in Visit are changing. There's a culture that we're working with to be very much more focused on the delivery of numbers, business development and targeting, and sales. And some people have warmed to that because they're actually seeing a result for the hard work they've put in. So the future for tourism, I think, looks bright. It's not easy, and we need to work more with the industry. I think we haven't engaged as much as we should have before, if I'm honest. But that has now changed, and we're open to suggestions and to criticism, and we will hopefully respond to any questions you have. So the floor is yours. I don't know if there's a roving mic, is there? So anybody got a question? And I should say that Slido was also available, which is on the screen.
You compared the Isle of Man to the other Channel Islands and Devon. Have you compared the cost of getting to the island?
Yeah, we have. I mean, obviously that's a whole conversation that we need to think about, but I would remind you, me living in Devon, it would cost me as much to fly to Newcastle, which is my hometown, as it would be to get across here. So there are costs, and train journeys in the UK. I think the last time I was in Devon was going to London, it was £270. I get what you're saying, and we are definitely looking at where we can do and make a difference, but there is still travel costs in the UK. Not necessarily if you're just going to drive your car to the Lake District, but you will also pay a lot more for your accommodation there.
Yes. I've got a couple of Slido questions, so I'll take one of those, and then anybody else has got their hand up, we'll take that one. So Deborah, what opportunities are there for cruise ship passengers to buy the great local products referred to in the last presentation if those businesses are not within 500 minutes of the sea terminal, or 500 metres of the sea terminal?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this.
We can say it.
Oh, go on. So we're looking at how we expand the offer for retail in the sea terminal. So that, for me, is a completely wasted opportunity. We've got rich Americans coming in wanting to buy a beautiful blanket made of Isle of Man wool. We need to give them an outlet to be able to do that. Working with the Welcome Centre and that where we've got the cruise desk at the moment, it's definitely in our ambitions to have ready for next season.
Question from the lady in the front, please.
I won't say I'm a rich American, but having come over here about 15 years ago, my first impression, everything in the film was spot on. The problem is getting here, and I think the first time I came over, I said, well, the first weekend I want to go to London, the second weekend I want to go to Dublin, and then I want to go to Liverpool, not realizing what was involved in the ferries and everything else. I think the cost is prohibitive from trying to get from point A to point B. My first idea is you put a flat cost on the steam packet. That ship is going to go back and forth no matter what, whether it's full or whether it's empty. And you put a 25, 50-pound cost on the tickets. It's going to be full going both ways, and you're going to get passengers going both ways. But when I can go to an island in Greece for 300 or 400 pounds for a week, all inclusive, it costs me more to go to the Lake District than it does to go there. And if I have a choice, of course I want to go see family in the Lake District, but I'm going to take the other choice. The other thing, getting off the cruise ship, and I've been on 20 or 30 cruises, I can remember the first time going down to the woolen mills. This isn't off a cruise, but But I asked how much, it was to get a Manx tartan or Angora thing. And they didn't even know, and they're changing the price and switching the price tag on the thing. But I think after being to Belfast, seeing how they have it set up outside their cruise terminal, they had all the kiosks set up. We have nothing like that. You get off the ship, you don't have an Uber set up, you don't have a decent taxi set up, you get it to the airport, and if it's after 10 o'clock at night, you can't even get a bus. One time coming in, I had to beg a ride off of somebody else who'd booked a taxi because the planes came in late. So you have a big transportation issue, both at the terminal and at the airport. So until you get the transportation issue fixed, and I see the trains and everything else, they're great, but they're entertainment once you get here. But getting off at the terminal, it's a big backup, and getting off at the airport is horrible if your plane's late, if it even gets here.
Do you want to go first, Deborah, and then I'll follow?
Just to say, I mean, obviously we've had our issues with the planes this year, but they are equally as bad. They have been. This industry has been hammered by the pandemic. They hardly make a profit. They have all sorts of problems. Been all over, impacted from all over Europe. I'm not defending them. I'm not defending them at all. I'm just nothing's as it was before. Sorry.
I'm going back even 15 years so.
Okay.
I mean, what I would say in terms of your impression of the cost of travel, certainly that's come out in the research that we did during the COVID period, with 41% citing that cost of travel was an issue. We've got the steam packet on our board, and we're in deep discussions with them around the Sea Services Agreement and looking at commercial pricing as to how we get more people to the Isle of Man, commercially beneficial for both. So it's a clear issue, but we are not chasing, and delivering cheap holidays here. We want to make sure there's a premium paid, with fair price paid, and people come have a great experience. So we're not going to get into nosediving into a low-cost type model. So it's getting that balance right. But transport is a key issue for us. Air and sea bridges, we need to make sure planes are more reliable. We're going to have an open discussion on our air strategy. We're discussing what our sea strategy is. I'm a favour of looking at how we develop the Irish market and bringing more people from Ireland and using the ports there, whether it be Dublin, Belfast, or the bit in between being Warren Point. So, we have a different view in life. We are the voice of you and we're not the voice of ourselves. So we need to hear from you. We're going to make sure we do improve the communication, which has been poor in the past, and we will represent you as we drive that proposition up. But I've got every confidence that we're heading in the right direction. At the moment, I'm feeling a bit, and I shouldn't really say this, but I'm feeling a bit like a proud father, that the child that I was involved with 5 years is now growing up. It's now going to secondary school. We're now talking about real business issues with real performance measures and taking decisions that need to be taken for the benefit not only of the economy, but more importantly for me, the visitor economy, because our job is to bring the visitor to you and you deliver the experience on the ground. So it's a partnership. So anyway, I digress. Can I just read one? There's Slido's coming in, and I'm conscious that we've got 3 minutes left. So if we just take the gentleman who had his hand up in the front, please. And I think we've time for 3 questions, and then I don't want to hold back finance.
Transport. I notice you don't feature the steam packet. You don't have it on any of your, display.
Steam packet?
Yeah. I didn't see the steam packet mentioned.
No. Okay, so we're selling a destination. So the steam packet is one of the things to get us here. I'm not...
Well, let me get back to transport then. Why are you not advertising in railway stations in England and Scotland and mentioning the offer of the Sail Rail package? That is a very cheap way of getting here, and it's better than bringing a car here, because the car is horrendous price-wise. But rail sail is pushing the numbers up. I know it's the cheap end of the market maybe for you, but you get volume.
It's more the conscious traveller that I'm interested in. That's actually exactly the route they take. The rail sail was a steam packet initiative. It hasn't been working for a while. We've just reintroduced them to some business called Rail Easy, and we're about to relaunch that with the steam packet.
Have you seen the rail sails are not available?
It hasn't been available for a little while.
Well, we're be looking and lifting as many stones as we can in that. So I think sail rail is certainly clear. I've got 2 minutes left. I'll respond myself, if you don't mind, to 2 Slido questions. What about a Great Manx Run? I think we're looking seriously at all sporting events in the Isle of Man. I see that as being one of the greatest areas of growth. So whether it's a marathon beyond the Ramsey one, that's fine. The next question was, how do you improve the service standard locally? Charles Gard's right. We've got an issue. We've lost our pride. We've lost our passion. If we walk in anywhere and we see something that's not right, it's my job to report what I see. And we will be lifting it from an officer level, which is where we've had for the last 3 years to report issues. We're raising it to a political and executive level because it's that important. Because when my relations come, the best linen goes on the bed, the best china's out, and I become a tour guide for a week. And we have to be proud, and I think we've lost that pride, if I'm honest. So we want to keep people honest, and everybody's got a role to play, 85,000 of us, to make this island special. So whether you tell us or whether you drive change for improvement. So we're very open to that, and it's probably, for me personally, the #1 issue that I feel as chairman that I have to deliver. And then the last question, Deborah, if I could, is to you and Slido. Do you think the current issues with transport to and from the island will have a long-lasting impact on those looking to visit the island?
I'm not saying this in a good way, but we're actually quite lucky that our market penetration is quite low at the moment. It gives us a chance that we haven't put too many people off. And if we can get to next year and make it better, then that's a real opportunity for us. I just make that sort of flippant remark. We've got 300,000 visitors. The Lake District gets 15.8 million. We have an opportunity to penetrate an awful lot more, which is, in this circumstance, is a good thing.
Yeah, and then...
Costs a fortune to get in and out of this island.
That's what you...
From your part of the world as well. Listen, unless you fix the cost of getting in and out of this island, you're not going to get visitors here. Full stop.
500,000 visitors are planned.
It's not going to happen. By the way, I offered to buy the steam packet in 1996. So I know a little bit about the steam packet and where we've ended up with it. 300 million pounds it's cost us. You'll never make it pay unless you charge crazy prices to fund the 300 million pounds. It's not going to happen.
I take what you say. I think our job, as far as is representing you, is to say there is the opportunity and the potential to grow this market. We are here to look at... No. It's clearly on our radar. We've done the research, we reviewed the customer experience, their feedback, and we will be delivering offerings that they want to buy.
It's not just the tourists, it's the people who live here.
Yeah.
Get in and out of the Isle of Man. As you're now finding out, getting backwards and forwards.
Well,
it's a nightmare.
We're in discussions with the steam packet, that's all I can say. We've got an issue we needed to resolve, but we have to do it sensibly.
You need to have a conversation with the government, because you and everybody in here, we own the steam packet. And we shouldn't be paid.
I think the steam packet is the #1 issue we face in discussions, and the cost. So we cannot ignore it.
It's a major problem we face for an island.
Well, we're not going to ignore it. So I'm conscious of time. I'm sorry, Steve, I can't take your question because of time. But it's an issue we have to resolve, and we will be engaging better than we have in the past. So we have to collectively look at it in a positive way. We take the comments, but we have to take them with consideration and move forward. So I do thank you, but I know it's a challenge. So look, I'd like to thank you very much for attending. We have our industry day in December, and we're
November.
November. There we go. I'm losing it. I feel it's a bit like a Mr. and Mrs. competition here, but no, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming for the conference. We want to hear from you, and we hope we do.